डाल और बोल हेलो and welcome to the
show. We take random interesting shocks, fact trivia. Random interesting shocks.
Shocks.
तू please ढंग से कर रहा है.
Welcome to another episode of the Internet.
This is Amin Sani on drugs.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Internet Set. So, a show we take random interesting shocks, facts, shocks.
We cannot also.
Why
I don't
does it have shocks? यहाँ से दूर से लेके आने का ऐसा खींच के
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Internet Set. So, a show we take random interesting facts, stacks.
अरे यार.
Please watch it on our channel.
The hilarious thing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Internet Set. So, a show we take random incidents, stats, facts, trivia, personal stories, and we talk.
I think he gets too happy when he does it right and he fucks it up when he does it
It was
wrong.
like over.
Hold up.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Internet Set. So, a show we take random interesting shock facts, stats, trivia, and personal stories, and we talk about it. And today's episode is on emotions.
Too many
Varun is just
emotions.
winging
Too
the
much
intro now.
emotions.
He just says anything now.
He said shock facts.
At the end of this episode, we're going to have like a TikTok song play and all four will cry. We'll just
It sounds like
have
hello and welcome to Internet Set. So, a show where we take stockings, facts, stockings बोल दिया शायद मैंने.
I just-
Stats, facts, trivia, and our personal stories.
One
And we
day,
talk
one
about
day.
it. Today's episode is on emotion.
Episode.
And the emotion I'm currently feeling is sleepy. That's not an emotion. But I'm
It's
still
not an
feeling it.
emotion. You could, yeah.
Guys, मुझे जानना है तुम्हारा favorite emotion क्या है?
happiness. Let's just stick to happiness. We would all want to be happy.
Happiness.
No.
So, okay, that's it then. Thanks, guys. Thank you for watching. That was
Let's come to the consensus that happiness is the best emotion, guys.
It's the best emotion. So, hope you guys enjoyed this
Hey, no,
detailed,
one
insightful
second.
chat.
One second. So, Aadar is partially correct. Okay, so I found this. I found a list called all the emotions ranked from worst to best. Okay.
As per
And-
who?
as per I'll tell you. As per ColumbusAlive.com.
Oh,
But Columbus,
Okay.
which Columbus? जिसको चिट्ठी आई थी.
It's okay. Now the thing is, can you guess the number one emotion, the best emotion? Aadar has come second with happiness.
oh, so I'm not correct.
Happiness is second.
It's very obvious,
But
guys.
do
Come
people
on.
Do people think orgasm is an
Love,
emotion?
love.
Love is
Love.
the
Oh,
number one emotion.
okay. But then love, okay.
Which is why
And
like,
love brings you happiness
Yeah.
sometimes.
sometimes
So
unless you're Arijit Singh, in which case.
then you're crying even when you're happy.
By the way,
तू इतनी खूबसूरत है. That's what Arijit.
sadness is number 3 on this list. Okay, because
हाँ, क्योंकि बहुत पब्लिक को दुखी रहना अच्छा लगता है. They feel good when they're sad.
Yeah.
They just like, मेरे साथ ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है.
No,
Everybody
also-
wants to be Keanu Reeves. It's like I don't need to be happy to be happy.
I also think that it's not got to do with that. I also think it's a popularity contest. I
What?
don't think it's rating based on what people actually think is their favorite emotion. I think it's just, hey, can you tell us emotions on the basis of what you think is right? So then they'll be like love, happiness, sadness, anger, hatred.
No,
ये
okay,
सब
chal,
आएगा.
what would be interesting is it's gone all the way to number 71 and 72. Okay, these are the last two. Can you guess what the last two, the worst two emotions are? And I don't agree with the last one, by the way.
I mean sadness.
No, sadness is number
No,
3.
Sadness number 3.
Sadness
Oh,
number three,
sorry.
you said that.
71 emotions है लेकिन.
71 emotions.
ब्रो प्राइमरी कुछ 8-9 इमोशंस है. ये सब बना रहे हैं क्या लोग?
अरे नहीं यार, ये सब
There's a lot
okay,
of-
I'll tell you, बीच के बताता हूँ थोड़े. Okay, 30s में क्या क्या है. Okay, there is 30s में has zest. Baba's favorite is at 32. Baba, which is your favorite emotion of all time?
Anger.
No, Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude. Oh. Schadenfreude is not an emotion.
It
No,
is-
but
Exactly.
deriving mirth in somebody else.
Not
very
mirth,
specific.
joy.
Mirth.
So
What is it,
pity
boss?
is
So what
31.
is the last one?
Okay, the last two are.
Wait,
the
wait,
last two
wait. 1
are-
minute. 1 minute. If that is
Now
the
I'm
case,
gonna take a
then because see, jealousy and all would have been in the top 7, 8. That's why I'm saying it's a popularity contest. So this will be.
Actually, these are very popular, huh? The ones I'm going to list now. And Baba, you actually feel both of them all the time.
Okay, is one of them pain? Pain.
No.
Jealousy.
Number 71 is shame.
Shame, I told you.
And number 72 is worry.
Oh,
Worry.
So yeah.
Worry.
Yeah. So, according to ColumbusAlive.com,
They had a lot of trouble while they were making that Pixar movie also because of this. There are so many subtleties in emotion. They apparently didn't have just 5. So the 5 that are there in that movie are joy, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. I think they had jealousy as one of the emotions, and they eliminated that character at the end. They tried to merge it with disgust to a certain degree. Jealousy, they took some of those characters of jealousy and mixed it with disgust and anger.
I feel like social media, right? We all think that it runs on like love, togetherness, and shit like that. But I think it actually runs on jealousy.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it actually runs on, right?
It runs on envy. Whatever form of envy, but it runs on envy because you're either looking at somebody else and being like, fuck, मेरे को ये बनना है, या correct. It's that. या तो मेरे को ये बनना है, या तो मेरे को ये करना है, या तो fuck ये मेरी जिंदगी क्यों नहीं है, और हा ये मेरी जिंदगी नहीं है. Whichever version of.
Oh, dude, you guys hate follow, right? Like
all the time,
right?
All the time. Half my Facebook friend list is hate acceptance.
No, I don't
मैं ये
think
आदमी बहुत irritating है, लेकिन मैं इसको accept करूंगा और उसके post देख के मैं हंसूंगा कि ये मैं नहीं हूँ. And there's an hour devoted to that.
There was an incident in my life after which I stopped doing hate follows.
We all know that incident.
Kautuk continued the hate follows, but I just completely blocked things.
I'm worse off. I don't do hate follows. What I do is I know these people who I hate, so I will search for them and then go through their content, which is worse than hate following.
Can I tell you something?
I wonder who we are talking about.
I had a guy on my friend list. Who I would just I would go and check up on him every so often because this guy used to be like he used to be basically, if he shared a meme, right, then I knew that meme had died. Like he was an indicator. कि ये आदमी हमेशा ऐसा
like your parents.
Last person on earth. हाँ, ये भी funny है. And it's like, it's 2020. What are you doing? Right? And
the day he says that was lit is the day that term ceases to exist.
It's done. Yeah.
But scientists have actually classified that there are 8 primary innate emotions that we have as humans, and that is joy,
actually
9.
acceptance, fear, surprise, sadness, disgust, anger, and anticipation.
So which is
the 9th one? Baba, is it Pluto?
No. So in thing, it's called in India, it's called the Navras, right? The Navras is that. The Navras is the 9 emotions. Emotions. That's really where it sort of comes from. But since you're talking about science, I'm going to bring up one philosophical theorist, and I'm going to read from here. Apart from Plato and all that, but there's a guy called
your friend
Spinoza, not Spinzona, as I called him earlier. There's a guy called Spinoza. He sort of very interestingly sort of like articulated this. Okay, so he sort of looked at what the base aspect of something is, and so there's 10 sentences. So just bear with me. So the way he's looked at it, he said, is that desire is one's essence insofar as it is conceived to be determined from any given state to do something. Okay, so that is how he sort of classified. Pleasure is one's passing from a less perfection to greater. So pleasure is not necessarily only good to best. Pleasure is also going from like sadness to a little less sadder. Like
or Mava in your case, from sadness to much more.
now like unpleasure is a thing. Like this one is pretty interesting, right? Like the way he's saying is disdain is an imagining of a thing that makes so little impact on the mind that its presence moves the mind to imagining what it is not in more than what it is. So like just the way he sort of looked at the concept of hating or disdain is pretty sort of interesting. ये पढ़ना चाहिए 10 है लेकिन बहुत ऐसा convoluted philosophical jargon में लिखा है.
You know, by the
But
way, Baba, one emotion that I think everyone went through over the last 8 months was boredom, right?
I also want to say
That's a-
loneliness.
Bro,
like
tell me about it.
loneliness.
I'm still
Loneliness
feeling
and
it.
boredom. That's so true. Loneliness also. But like,
And you know, in a few people, some genuine happiness, because like I'll give you examples of my cousin. Right now, she is a pilot who before the lockdown was just constantly flying, idhar udhar, aage piche, barely any time, odd hours. So when the lockdown came, although it came for COVID, it became like a compulsory now sit at home for everybody, right? So for a lot of people who are so worked, overly worked in their own job, for them it came as a welcome break. So I had met a few friends who were like, bro, मैं तो बहुत खुश हूँ कि मेरे को घर पे बैठने मिल रहा है अभी, because I was just tired, because I was constantly out there working odd hours, long hours, whatever. So लेकिन वो 3 महीने बाद सबकी हवा निकल गई कि बस हो गया, इससे ज्यादा मुझे रेस्ट नहीं चाहिए, मुझे बाहर जाना है अभी.
but
So
also
that
like
was
that's such a sad state of affairs for their work life, like so, and that's so true. Like a lot of people said कि बहुत मजा आ रहा है मेरे को, but that's also fucking sad कि तेरा actual life कितना fuck all है.
Yeah.
हाँ, but मैं तो
देखो कोविड में
मेरे को तो इधर भी मजा नहीं आ रहा है. I'm saying like I'm still overworking.
No, I had planned to take that break. So it was weird that I decided to I canned a bunch of shows because I wanted to actually make sketches for Instagram. I had planned that. And I was talking to Kautuk about it in February when we were touring, or January or something we were touring.
February of 2012. Yeah, that I remember you spoke to us about it.
So and I was like, dude, मेरे को break लेना है. So in March and April, I actually canned a bunch of shows. It's like I'm going to sit at home and I'm going to write. And March 23rd, this shit hit the fan, and I was like, oh shit, now.
अच्छा है ना तेरे लिए, तू कितना किया?
Yeah.
Boring, ऐसे ही, अर्नब सब तो किया तू.
हाँ, so
So
I
good.
had, so it was.
learn Deepak Chopra का character. माँ कसम.
I love Deep Chopra. He's very deep.
But also, dude, like, the interesting thing about getting bored during the pandemic was also this, right? Ki this is probably the least boring time in human history, right? You have so many goddamn options.
You have everything. You
Yeah.
have fucking everything.
And अपन फिर भी बैठ के यार कुछ है नहीं यार करने में, यार देखने में क्या करूं.
No, which only
पब्लिक के
goes to
प्रॉब्लम्स क्या थे मन में? I am bored. क्यों? क्योंकि मैंने सब देख लिया नेटफ्लिक्स पे.
No, I think what people don't understand, and I think that really goes to show something, that even in a situation of isolation and boredom and loneliness or whatever, what we're really craving is human interaction, because what you are missing is the ability to be social and the ability to physically meet people, hang out with people, as we sort of have started to call it, right? Like we're starting to miss that. We're starting to miss conversation. And
you know something, there is also, I feel like there is a thing called social stamina, and just like physical stamina, if you don't work out, then that stamina drops, right? I think it's the same with social stamina. Ki when you're interacting with people, it's high, and when you don't, it drops. Like, for example, for the entire period of this lockdown, we didn't meet too many people. But now as it started opening up, right, we met like our parents, we went and met relatives and things like that and friends. And we realized that we get more tired now talking to people and meeting them than we used to do back when we were always meeting them.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yes.
It's so strange that that's the thing. Like we come back and
you're almost like,
drained.
yeah, it's either drained or it's like, or in the middle of the situation, you're like, chal, ho gaya, abhi jate hain. Like, like you're like, it's sort of done. But that's an interesting point. No, but I think that's also a great study in like just like the ability of how like human beings evolve, right? Like we suddenly become okay with what is there. Like you've gone from this.
Dude, your benchmarks become so much lesser.
Lower.
At the beginning of lockdown, 21 days में ये करेगा वो करेगा घर पे ऐसे, फिर हम लोग बाहर जाएंगे, वो बढ़ते गया. And the more you were obviously annoyed and tired of the fact that you couldn't meet friends, but I think after a point we just adapt. It just weirdly we adapted कि this is life. हाँ, मैं 8 दिन में एक बार 2 दोस्त को मिल रहा हूँ जो कोविड नेगेटिव है. Like it just became something that you were used to.
का एक जोक नहीं किया पिछले कम से कम 8 हफ्ते में. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just proof in the fact that
hey, speak for yourself, बाबा. मैंने अभी किया एक.
No, but joke नहीं कर रहे हैं ना हम लोग बर्तन और इसका is my point. We're not.
मैं कर रहा
It's
है.
becomes it's become so part of routine that you need to do it. It just like I
No,
guess you sort of.
But tell me guys, apart from chal happiness ho sab to chhod, what is that one emotion you guys feel that you've noted about yourself that the minute you like say things that were detrimental to your own self, right? Certain kind of emotions that you would feel for whatever reason that you did earlier, and then over the course of obviously growing up and maturing has changed or evolved. Like, has there been a specific emotion like that for you guys? Like, I'm asking you that because I'll start with mine, right? I used to be supremely jealous and possessive. I don't know if will possessive-ness count under some sort of emotion.
Yeah.
No, it's
No,
a
but
it's
like
an
that'll be
it's an
coupled with
outtake of it's a
but it'll
outtake
be
of
coupled
jealousy.
with jealousy that, oh, this is
Yeah.
mine, I like it like that. And I used to have a lot of that. I think even anger to a certain extent, like that's the other emotion I used to feel. And it's not for any other reason, but I used to have very short temper. I used to get angry really easily, yell. I'm not saying I don't yell or don't get angry anymore. I definitely do, and I work on it.
Just watch Thakur when there is a double parked car on the road. Holy fuck!
Oh, bro.
Oh fuck! And look at his face right now.
Just imagining it.
Genuine.
मेको ना bro, I'll tell you, ये वाला counted है. ये मैं I'm not even going to work on this part of कि तू double park करेगा तो मेरा दिमाग हटेगा.
Can I tell you something? So, Baba,
चल के जाएगा रास्ते पे हाथ दिखा के ऐसा.
Abhi, nahi, so I was talking to Thakur right now, okay, on the phone. Like, it had been a month and we hadn't spoken, and we were talking. And he's like, dude, I just got back from a shoot. बहुत मजा आ रहा है. I'm so relaxed, so happy. And then he's like, अबे गाड़ी हटा. Just randomly. कौन है आदमी?
और हाँ, तेरे साथ मैं गाड़ी में बात कर रहा था. Dude, बिल्डिंग के बाहर एक टेम्पो वाले ने टेम्पो रोक के चले गया. It's not even like उसके टेम्पो से कुछ निकल रहा है.
I don't know. They
stopped it.
Park a car in front of your main gate. Yeah.
And has walked off.
Yeah.
Like, ये नहीं होता मेरे से. So I think for me, like anger, jealousy to a certain extent were emotions I used to feel a lot more, maybe sometimes unwarranted, but it would feel. And then now sort of I've learned to either control it or, you know, like
No, but Thakur,
push
I
it
don't
down,
think,
not push it down, but
I don't think it's that. I think that jealousy and stuff is something that we all faced and we all had to grapple with till we just, I think it's a virtue of insecurity till you become secure, right? So I think as you have matured and as you have gotten older, wiser in it, I think that sort of you start to see the pointlessness of it. Not to say that you
and I'm
won't feel
also
it.
saying it in terms of your significant other at that time, your girlfriend at that time, you know, your best friend at that time, or whatever. Where I would get possessive. Oh, why are you talking to him? Oh, that guy's looking. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, it used to be a lot, and now sometimes now even when I'm talking about it and I think about those times, I'm like, yuck, bro. How or why the fuck were you like that? Like, क्या था ये?
तुम लोग के साथ कभी
Like,
उल्टा
it
हुआ है
was-
क्या? Like, I've actually had somebody like break up with me over the fact that I didn't get jealous enough. It was like,
Yeah,
you
ये
don't
भी
get
होता है.
jealous, you don't
ये भी
care
होता है.
about this relationship that way. It was like,
हाँ.
no, I'm just mature enough
No,
to
you're,
not
dude, that
let you
person is-
talk to other human beings.
But
without going
that's that dichotomy. That's the dichotomy of jealousy. If you feel too jealous, oh, you're too possessive, you don't give me my space, you're very overbearing. If you don't feel it, arre, you're not feeling it. That means you don't care. So
No,
मैं
I don't
क्या
think it's
करूँ?
that. I think that there is a point in time where we just mature as people and we understand the futility of just putting yourself through the emotions
Of emotions.
you know, you're like, यार ये मतलब अगर कुछ करने हैं तो कर लेगा यार, मतलब क्या चूतियागिरी, like, you know, you either get, and you're also secure about the fact that bro क्यों करेगा, लेकिन मतलब why, you know, that's the
and you know the
complete flip of it.
thing about emotions also is like emotions have a very physical reaction to them. Like, we may not consciously realize it, but तेरे थोबड़े पे सब कुछ दिखता है. You know, when your face literally tells a different story, like you're feeling a certain emotion and you're trying to hide it, right? No matter how hard you try, you always let out something called micro expressions that are so small that they miss the naked eye. But if you were to film somebody and really like slow the pace down of that video, you will be able to tell the exact point at which, say, the person flinched, or you know, he or she was lying, but they were trying to control, and they had a little bit of a tick that they also don't know themselves. So they feel they're doing a great job, but it's very, very clearly seen across their face.
And I just want to go back to that thing that you said, right, about like what emotion has changed in you, right? I think as a person, I've become more patient over time. I think I was way more impatient, and I think that's also like a thing about majority. But it's also about like I started contextualizing small frustrating things. You know, like for example, traffic was extremely frustrating to me, or waiting for people used to be extremely frustrating to me, right? But I just started contextualizing it differently. Like the older I've gotten, the more I've been like, you know what, I like if I'm waiting for somebody, it just feels like I've got time to myself where I'm also morally in the right.
Yeah.
मैं time पे हूँ, तू late है, अब मैं अपने आप like I can just read a book or something, right? So I've just started contextualizing that shit. So and I think it's been it's really made life better. Like if you can just look at frustrations from a different angle, it just improves your entire mood, your entire day dramatically. And it's fucking beautiful.
Dramatically,
Joys of
and Kautuk, mainly also with something like this, right? It's because emotions are contagious. Okay, whether you believe it or not, emotions are fucking contagious. If you're sitting next to a grumpy person, you wake up with a grumpy person. Like I've been that person, and Nikita gets damn annoyed because I sort of rub it onto her, right? कि मैं उठा और मैं fried है, तो मैं ऐसे शक्ल बना के बैठा है, मैं oh shit यार, like for some stupid reason, I don't know कि मेरा memory full हो गया phone में, whatever, like some stupid fucking reason कि अरे उसने French fries नहीं दिया मेरे को burger के साथ, whatever, like mainly
crispy
like
noodle.
हाँ मैं वही बोलने वाला था, चाइनीज खाने के साथ मुझे क्रिस्पी नूडल नहीं मिला, मैं फ्राई हो गया था ब्रो, and I was grumpy, and after a point like everybody sitting for dinner with you like bro just relax, नूडल है ठीक है, लाइफ आके जाती है, don't be bummed because you're sending that, and it's so fucking true.
So
you know,
I'll add to like what is that one emotion. So for me, no, मेरे को emotions analyze करके 4 साल हुए. Like मैं actually, if you just think about in the evolutionary spectrum of my life, while I'm almost 40, I'm 39 and I'll be 40 in December.
Still, you know, those Australopithecus.
Correct. So what my therapist actually tells me is that in your head, you're still a teenager in terms of emotionally understanding your own emotions, not the emotional maturity of it. So the emotional maturity is fine, and that way you're a 90-year-old. But
झूठ मत बोलो, तेरे थेरेपिस्ट ने बोला है कि तू टीनेजर है, ठीक है, ये तू इमोशनल अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड मेंटली वो 15 साल का है.
Analyzing it is a teenager, and the reason for this is because मतलब मैं 35, 36 तक तो I have ignored everything, whether I've had anxiety, fear, whatever it is. I mean, fear is felt obviously, but like you've just grazed past all of it. I think over the last 4-5 years, I mean, I've become calmer. Like you look at my special in 2016 and you look at my special in 2020, it's a fucking stark difference, right?
Fuck, Baba.
Look at your improv hosting in 2012 and look at
I always
everything
thought that
after.
was more because तेरा back थोड़ा started giving, you had to sit down, तो उसमें तेरा anger चला गया.
So I'm saying like just the ability to now therefore just comprehend. So I think one of the biggest advantages is what Kautuk was saying, the ability to see something from someone else's perspective. But my problem, and I still have this problem, is that I'm damn selfish, and I'm selfish in the ways that I'm very I'm selfish in the ways that things have to happen my way, like right, like and I'm not saying that it's not like I'm saying that things will have to like I won't compromise.
One other person who's more selfish than you are.
Who is there?
Let's not name names.
But so I'm really selfish, but just to put that in context, like Varun, you get really irritated with this, like, you know, Chinese mein ye nahi aaya, ye wo. Like for example, doing chores, I will do chores the way I want to do.
मैं पूरा टाइम फ्राइड नूडल के बारे में नहीं,
ऐसा नहीं है कि 2 साल से वरुण ऐसे अरे 2017 में उसने मेरे को भेजा नहीं था कड़क नूडल.
So to me the problems are that if something is not done the way I want to do it, or some like if a chore has to be done, it has to be done the way I will want to do it. So I'd rather do it myself. You know, so it sort of becomes that. Or agar mere
तू
ko,
micromanager है बाबा.
not just micromanagerial process. Like I don't have a problem in letting control go. That's not the problem. It's just that I don't know how to really express my selfishness comes from what you were saying. Like it's just like it mere ko chid ho jata hai on a lot of things, and I sort of transmit that thing. Like I hate hanging out with people. Right, like collective of people, so I can't do only. Like I will fucking kill people. Right.
Thank God you're not doing a weekly podcast with multiple people expressing.
You know what I'm saying? So like this is fine.
2 weekly podcasts with multiple people.
No, but
and the occasional quiz with multiple people.
But you're not getting it. All of it is A, when I'm aware of it. B, it's limited number of amount of time. It's people I like.
Baba, the main distinction, I think, and I'm completely being an amateur therapist for you, but I think the main distinction is you consider this kind of like, oh, this is the professional comedy career thingy.
Oh.
Right? You're not personally hanging out with us. I don't think I've had a personal conversation with Baba unless he otherwise he doesn't talk about his personal shit. He just like does his work and fucks off.
So it's not just professional. Like Kautuk, like we hang out and we talk, but if it's a limited number of people, like this 4 group, I'm fine with. You know what I'm saying? Like the minute it starts to become people I am uncomfortable with. No, people I am uncomfortable with. Like, you know, if you put me in one of those I can't hang out with certain, like it's just not my thing. There it's extremely calm karke nikal jata.
So the entire audience watching this, the reason we don't have guests is because of Baba. He doesn't like anybody coming
not
on the
true
podcast.
again.
When guests come,
Baba
Baba is usually
for the
not
last
there
30 episodes, it's just been us. Every time we suggest, hey, let's get Tanmay, let's get Kanan, Kenny, Biswas, Ake, Rabish,
This is not
Rahul,
true
KV. And he's like, I fucking hate everybody. Please, if you're
मैं
getting them, I'm leaving.
मैं खाली उन लोग का special direct करता है.
Special direct करता है.
तो पैसा देगा मैं hang out करेगा बिल्कुल.
So no, it's not just a professional thing. I think that yes, I think there is a huge part of where I've got my work life separated and my personal life separated. But yes, I'm a very private person. मतलब आधा चीज मतलब मैं ऐसा क्या discuss करने हैं अभी life में बेंचो तो but I think it's also got to do with my terms. Like if it's being done on my terms, I'm happy.
Correct.
So I think that's one thing.
You know how good are you guys with your emotions, as in like sharing of emotions?
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
Aadar, तेरा बता ना.
I think anger, getting over the anger, more so like Varun. I like a lot of anger about. I think, and it came from getting control over performing ability. I think for me it was more a professional anger. So it like I remember, and this got like put into me as a kid because you get a note wrong and you're going to fail in the exam for playing the piano or something like that, and that slowly went into the comedy also, because the more I started doing music with the comedy, so if somebody in the audience is interrupting, I have to be prepared for that interruption, and if I don't think on my feet fast enough to come up with a punchline because somebody interrupted me, because that is unavoidable in the middle of a song. So that kind of shit, and hating myself for not doing it correctly, and there's a lot of anger on myself, not on people as such. It was a lot of anger professionally on myself to not get things right while performing.
Aadar ka basically problem is Whiplash.
Yeah.
The movie.
It's just
Yeah.
the whole movie.
Yeah, but it's self-flash more than Whiplash.
But I think that's what Whiplash was about. It was more about like just like hating yourself. Like I think I related that to that movie hard, because I have hurt my hands trying to get something right, and you tend to bang your hand so hard, there has been bleeding, all that shit has happened, and over time you had to calm down. It's like, it's okay. The more I started talking to very mature musicians and people who I made it a point to get in touch and talk to people like that, and ultimately you started realizing, oh, just calm the hell down, you've got a lot of time to figure shit out, just don't be an asshole to yourself. I think that
it takes time to sort of get comfortable with whatever it is that you are going to have to get comfortable with. So like even my ability to, earlier I didn't even realize that I had anxiety. Now I know I can sense an anxiety attack coming. Like I can sense that I'm going to get anxiety about this. I wasn't even able to identify. But yeah,
Baba
I mean,
identified my first anxiety attack on a set. Baba identified it. I didn't even know it was happening to me. I
you had a
panicked and
full panic attack.
I
Full
wanted
panic
to
attack.
get into a cab and go home. And Baba said, "You're having a panic attack." And I didn't even know. Baba recognized it before I could. मेरे को बस
Yeah, it's
निकलने का था. I
weird
was
though.
like, I'll
ये
return the
recently
money.
हुआ.
I'm going away. I'm going home.
Bro, it happened with me. It happened with me recently because I am not generally an anxious person. I'm not anxious. I've never really had bouts of anxiety that has really made me think or feel or behave in a certain way. But 20 days ago, 25 days ago, I don't want to get into the reason, but मेरे को हुआ, bro. Panic attack मतलब now this was that I think the first time that I could possibly put myself in other people's shoes when they say ki, dude, I'm getting a panic attack. And if you're a person who's never had it, no matter how much you say, oh, I get it, you don't. Okay, you don't understand even 1/10 of it. And what the kind of panic attack or whatever anxiety attack that I got was still nothing compared to what most people who actually suffer from it get. But dude, I actually felt it. I felt my entire body. I felt my breathing go for a toss. My
And it's fucking
thoughts were
exhausting, dude.
Yeah.
And
my
it's
thoughts were
exhausting,
going
like
haywire.
afterwards.
Dude, all this while I'm in the middle of shoot. मेरा shoot है. So it's not कि अरे ये हो गया अभी मैं लेटेगा AC में. No, it was do this, then get your ass back to set because you have a big scene to shoot. Right? And it was, bro, I don't know how people who I know have it, how they handle it. मेरा चलेगा एक टाइम के बाद पानी वानी पिया, breathing किया, जितना भी जो भी थोड़ा बहुत कर सकते हैं उतना किया, and it subsided. But for that brief 20 minutes, half an hour, it dude, it was all haywire. ऐसे literally तू वायर को खींचेगा ना कोई इससे तो कैसे होता है ब्रो, वैसे हो रहा था मेरे साथ. Like it was, I couldn't breathe. I felt my body go into like a physical, like almost
spasm.
shock.
Yeah, it cripples you, no? Like
Dude,
really bad
then,
panic attack can cripple you. Like you just can't do anything sometimes. It's just terrible. And for me, what happens is the
scary.
after effects of anxiety are worse sometimes because I get so drained and so exhausted at the end of it. Like I can't physically do anything. But yeah, I mean, those are things. But you had asked an interesting question, Varun, which is how you are sharing your emotion.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next before I forgot that we had to finish others. Are you guys good at sharing emotions? Are you guys the type who suppress your emotion or like dabaw it and don't really show it? Or are you comfortable showing it? Like, for example, boys, men don't cry. Men don't cry. Arey, aadmi hai to ro nahi sakta. Ek to you've fucking heard this shit ever since you've grown up. How comfortable are you with crying in front of people?
You know,
आ गया तो आ गया. That's it.
हाँ, मेरा भी ये है same. मैं छुपाएगा नहीं.
हाँ, so I think that.
रोना है तो रो देगा.
So I mean, but for me, the weird thing is, the empathy is very like I get really teary and really emotional when I see a really like read a really good book or something like that, or when I watch a show or a scene which has like a really deep scene, or like ads with like great parents or something like that. It just like I'm gone.
Only Neville can have an emotional connect to ads way more than anybody else.
No,
it's true.
Parents,
not parents.
No. Like, I wish I had them.
No, it's not just that. Like, you know, like the perfect mom and the perfect dad and like, you know, those that kind of stuff. Like, even if you look at the PNG thank you mom campaign.
ad लिखते रो रहा है.
कभी नहीं हुआ है bro, क्योंकि लिखते you know the process.
Baba at his laptop. ये क्या अच्छा ad बना रहा हूँ.
और फिर वो तेल में अपना पूरी डालती है.
So I'm saying that's never really happened. But like no, even stories of anyway, great stories or whatever. Emotional response to actual activities to me sometimes don't happen because I almost stiffen up. Like my immediate response to it is self-preservation. So I don't necessarily emote, but otherwise I don't have a problem sharing my emotions now at all. But there are definitely repressed emotions in terms of anger and something which is completely repressed. And this is like clinically diagnosed.
We are a very repressed society as such. Like I learned a good thing from my sister, And I started doing it in the last few years. My sister, for the last 7-8 years, I realized, used to do a monthly lunch with my mom. A very official monthly lunch with my mom. And I didn't know why. And I started doing that later on with mom. Let's like just spend, like, चाहे मैं बाहर नहीं लेके जाऊं. She does it like properly. They both go out to lunch. It's like a date. And
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah. I
actually
used to
come
do
back.
date nights.
Like, I think she knew how to preserve relationships way better than I do.
No,
And
I used to do
just
date night
sitting
with
down
mom.
and like
It's
doing
great.
like once in a month, just sit down with my mom and just like have a meal and just talk about shit that she's feeling and like मेरा क्या चल रहा है. Like talk to your mom even though you're meeting every day. Like क्या चल रहा है?
No,
What is
just
happening with
taking
her
that
own
time
life?
apart and going out is like
Yeah.
date night, like legit
Hmm.
date night is what
with
it's great.
with Siddhi, like I've realized two things. One is that I'm very very bad at expressing negative emotions. Like I'm one of those people who, like, if I'm feeling anything, I will somehow just keep it inside me and keep repressing it. And then, and she keeps going like, are you okay? Like, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to tell me something? I'm like, no, it's okay, it's fine. Ah! Until it like bursts out, right?
If you're saying it like
But
this,
that's actually the worst possible thing, right?
That's worse.
Whether it's partners or it's friends or family or whatever, and you feel a certain way about somebody else for whatever reason, their actions, however they were, it made you feel a certain way. But because I'm non-confrontational by nature, it's very convenient. I keep going between confrontational to non-confrontational. And the more I've grown up, the more I've been like, यार मेरे को नहीं करने का है, किसको करने का है. So you let it be, which can be perceived as callous by some other people or like not interested or whatever. But if you don't have those periodic conversations where those emotions are brought to the fore, bro, when it comes out, it comes out at the worst time imaginable. Worst time.
And at the intensity
like repressed
also,
emotions have the best timing to show up at the worst time. मतलब वो एकदम बहुत ब्यूटीफुल एक किसका पार्टी चल रहा है, तू बहुत खुश है, तू रेडी वेडी हुआ है, जो भी तेरे गर्लफ्रेंड हो, तेरा दोस्त हो, मॉम डैड हो, जिसके साथ भी तू जा रहा है, लेकिन एक कुछ चिंगारी जो बहुत पहले बुझ गई थी, वो सडनली आ जाती है. एंड डूड, what comes out is just utter rubbish, because then the main reason you started that conversation gets put to the side. Then it's all the backlog कि भाई पहले मैं ये खत्म करेगा, फिर लंच पे जाएगा, फिर बाकी करेगा.
You know what I mean? Not even getting coherent sentences are also not coming.
And it's so
anything is coming out.
It's so baffling for people because it's like, like you were saying, right? It comes at the worst time. It's like, hey, can you pass the butter knife? And you're like, fuck you.
You always want me
butter knife तेरे को चाहिए.
That's so true.
And the thing is that and the reason it's so disconcerting is because almost like you also sometimes forgotten what that initial thing was. You just
was exactly.
But that is one. But the other thing about like repress this thing is, I don't know why, but I get very moved again by like movies and stuff like that. But for some reason I cannot cry in a theater. Like I just feel like I don't know what it is, man. I just feel like I can't express that thing properly.
No, so apparently
ये single child syndrome है, bro. ये single child syndrome
हो सकता है. I don't know.
Apparently it's easier to force a smile. They say like if you force a smile for like 30 seconds, you can feel happy, but it's almost impossible to fake a negative emotion like fear, sadness, anger. That's why I think like you think of actors who can do it, like who can cry at the drop of a hat and stuff like that. Like it's actually very difficult to do, but
by the way,
you can't fake that emotion. You can't fake being connected.
You mentioned this thing about fake smiles, right? There's a fact about genuine smiles have a name. Okay. So fake smiles are surprisingly easy to recognize, to the point where psychologists have pinpointed the exact muscles used in them. Genuine smiles, called Duchenne smiles for the French doctor who discovered them, involve the involuntary and voluntary contraction of the zygomatic major and the orbicularis oculi muscles.
What a Duchenne.
Which is you smile with your eyes. No, that was the point, right? You come in with
There's almost like a glint in your eye. When that.
I was watching this,
and smiles are contagious, bro. Because just like yawning, for example, you see somebody else smile or laugh, it automatically triggers a thing in your brain to go to your muscles that you need to smile.
Yeah.
And that's purely by seeing another person do it. And
So
that's an
I
actual
was-
scientific
I
fact.
was-
No, but that's the beauty
the
of
thing is,
that. But
one second, वो जो तू Varun बोल रहा है ना, like when you see somebody else do it, I was watching this weird thing about some special effects guy who worked on King Kong, and the King Kong death scene. Now, if you look at each one of our eyes, there is this white that you can see. You see that glint in everyone. Like I can see it right now in the
so
screen.
that's a lighting thing.
Yeah, that's a lighting thing.
No,
So
but it can
what
also
these guys,
dim.
they had done a fake light. So all the time to make the King Kong like look real, they always had a fake source of light in his eye. And when he died, the frame is just there. It's just him lying there, and before he falls off the
And
building,
the light goes out.
they decided to dim that. And you don't really know what happened, but something was moving in that shot.
Subliminally, yeah.
Subliminally, the audience felt that this guy has died.
Fuck, that's
So it's
crazy.
like we as just animators and like graphic designers knew that that's what would
Oh,
happen.
by the way,
Because
there's this fucking
You're
crazy thing.
manipulating emotion to such a degree as filmmakers. Like, damn.
Dude,
No, but
about
sorry.
serial killers,
Yeah.
whenever people have met these people, right? Like these, and if you've had a brush with these people, the people who've had this, they come back and they say that, at some point, so they're charming people, these serial killers, right? But at
Yeah.
some point, it's like their eyes blacken out. Like they go dead.
Sociopath. It's
That's why
sharks.
exactly right. That's where the dead-eyed look comes from, right?
Yeah.
And it's like they don't have any, like, so I feel like empathy is also in your eyes.
So I was just going to come to that. So what Thakur was talking about, saying that a smile is almost contagious to a point where somebody else does it, you feel like
No,
doing it.
your brain triggers your muscles
So-
on your face to smile when you see another person smiling
which is
or laughing.
which is what makes us human in almost anything. Like our ability to be humanitarian and the ability to appreciate story or the ability to appreciate anything, whether it is humor or any range of emotion, is empathy. So when like there was this
Actually, I was going to say the same thing right now, because like when it comes to emotions, I think for me, love of the head, those are obvious things, but I think empathy as an emotion is probably the most needed across the board. Like when I will want to raise my kids, like the first thing I want them to be able to feel, whether it can be inculcated in any way or form from when they're young, is empathy, bro, because I think it triggers so many other good things in you when you're able to empathize for somebody else and feel their pain or feel their happiness or come from their understanding. It just changes you as a person. It just
but that's the
fucking
thing.
completely
That's the
changes
beauty
you.
about empathizing with somebody, right? Like, there's a huge difference between the empathy and the sympathy of something, right? Sympathy almost is condescending. It's almost top down. Which is why a lot of people hate the sympathy, receiving sympathy. Whereas if you empathize, you don't treat people different. You just sort of are somber with them or whatever. Which there was this really interesting podcast I was just listening to some time ago called Philosophize This, where they talk about laughter. And there's a whole like theory of why we find things funny, etc., in which there was a really interesting point which he said, which is that technically anything absurd or laughter is basically the disillusionment of the illusion that you have created, right? But if someone, why is it that you don't laugh at a concept? There has to be a construct to the concept. So if someone told you about a lame monkey, your first feeling is empathy for the monkey, or which is why after that, if the monkey does something amazing, you will laugh because you've made that monkey the hero, right, in the story. And so it's a release, which is where laughter is coming from. And that's why laughter is such a positive emotion.
I saw this stand-up bit with a one-handed comedian. He goes on stage. He was like an army vet. He goes on stage and he walks on and he's one-handed. And he goes, all right, someone give me a hand. And just the audience cracks.
So, which is what he was talking about, where deprecation comes from. So, just if you can just listen to this this podcast, it's great. But I think in Thakur's point of empathizing with someone, the reason why as human beings we are able to be empathetic is because as we are growing up, we have felt every emotion.
Right.
And if you did not go through that process of feeling the emotion, you would not, like, you have felt loss, you have felt happy, you have
But
felt
that's
sad.
that's exactly one of the points a scientist, one of the things I pulled up made, wherein bad emotions are good for you, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the
Yeah.
minute you felt any sort of bad emotion, pain, separation, anxiety, loss, sadness, whatever it may be,
Makes you a
it
better person.
it makes you a better person because you've lived with it, you've learned from it, and now you're able to either come out of it or improve your general feeling
Yeah.
after having gone through said emotions. Because
Yes.
if you have some kind of people who've never felt fear in their life,
Oh, dude. Oh, fuck.
it
Can I
can
tell you
fear
about
can be of any kind, right?
Bro,
But you've never felt fear, you've never felt sadness, like
Yeah,
you're not a whole well-rounded
which is what I
person.
talk about, Kautuk, before you go, which is what I talk about when I say that, like, this constant need to be happy is the problem. This constant release of dopamine that we need is the problem, because if you don't feel sadness, you won't appreciate the happiness that
hi.
you feel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, you won't. So you
Exactly.
need that up and down, up and down. That does not mean that you go and seek it out, but I'm saying allow yourself to feel the emotion as it sort of comes in, sort of.
Because if it's meant to come for you, accept it, live with
Yeah,
it, go through it, bear the brunt, because that's the only way you'll come out of
yeah.
it.
Don't
And
just
more importantly,
immediately
I
go to
feel,
Instagram.
Yeah.
yeah,
So from
right. And
something
also the
very
thing
like
is, once you feel a variety of these emotions, can you truly feel empathy, right?
Correct.
You can't,
And
you can never
that's
feel
one of the.
empathy towards somebody's loss if you've never felt loss. तू कभी
Yeah, yeah.
लाइफ में हारा ही नहीं है, तेरे से कुछ कभी छीना नहीं है, तेरे से हाथ से कुछ गया नहीं है, तू कैसे empathize करेगा with anybody who's feeling that specific emotion?
So
yeah,
that's where
Wow.
there was one very
going
interesting.
from empathy to
One
complete
sec. Aadar,
unempathetic.
don't fully change the subject before that, Aadar, because Kautuk also wants to say something.
I'm
There's
not.
one
I'm
very
staying. I'm
interesting.
staying to subject. But
There
it's
is this
like
very interesting narrative which became urban legend, which was talking about, and of course there was also scientifically sort of proven, where the difference as to why everyone says women are mature and men are immature. Like, boys tend to jump, think playing ball smashing each other is a great idea, or abadubi is a great idea, whereas girls play slightly more interesting games when they're young, is because the part of the brain for boys develops late is what the joke and the myth is, right? But if you look at any guy who, the reason why they say boys mature late is because they start feeling true emotions or negative emotions later in life, right? Till then, which is why which is why the people who, I don't know how to say this.
But in India, dude, our parents also don't help, no?
yeah.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. They don't allow you
Because
only.
a boy child in India cannot face a negative emotion. Meaning,
Correct.
ये हो ही नहीं सकता. कैसे हो सकता
But
है?
that's why the nerds who get beaten up are more emotionally mature, because you've gotten beaten up.
हाँ, इसलिए
You
वो
know what I'm
जाके
saying?
सुंदर
Like,
बच्चा
I
बनता
don't
है
think
बाद में।
Mark Zuckerberg has any emotion left, dude. एक तो.
वो खत्म हो गया।
But I
वो बजा रहा है पूरी दुनिया की, bro.
मैंने
ये
एक
सब
sorry,
मार
Kautuk.
खाया ना वो स्कूल में, उसके वजह से हो रहा है.
I've read one of the most unempathetic quotes from a recent philosopher from
From a recent philosopher.
Yeah, 2016 का
उसने
ये
कभी
quote.
चालू किया, अभी परसों ही उसने कुछ
Yeah,
बोला.
नहीं, he's been talking for a while, but
Life is
and he's
but-
always been like on the fence. So it's 2016, and this quote has not aged well at all. It's पुलिस का चक्कर, embarrassment, पेपर में फोटो और harassment, सीलिंग में तो रोप है, जीरो उसका स्कोप है, डोंट बी अ लूजर बेबी, होप है तो डोप है.
Is this Baba Sehgal?
This is
It is
Baba
Baba
Sehgal
Sehgal.
from
Ah.
2016 talking about suicide.
Wow.
Baba Sehgal's quotes have not aged well,
Wow.
calling
Never.
people who commit suicide losers. So
Sorry.
this is
Kautuk, you were
this is
saying
a
something.
but this is like how society looks at emotion in a way. Like it's just
Yeah. Nobody.
This is what it
we're
is.
not taught about death, yeah. When we were we're not
Yeah.
allowed to feel loss.
The
Sorry,
thing
Kautuk, you
I
were
was
saying
talking
something.
about
We
was,
stopped you
Kautuk.
several times.
and it's close to this thing about like fear and stuff, right?
Ah.
So there is this guy called Alex Honnold. Okay.
Okay.
He was in this. They made a documentary about him called Free Solo. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
This is
wow,
the guy.
Dude.
This is the guy who scaled El Capitan, which is a 3,000-foot mountain without ropes.
Yeah, it's considered the mecca of all climbing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
El Capitan is the
fucking hard to do, and he's done it without ropes. Okay, just his body.
yeah.
And when they put him through an fMRI scan, okay, this guy's amygdala doesn't respond.
Yeah.
Amygdala is
To
the place
fear.
where you have fear, and it doesn't respond. So he is eventually. So they asked him, "What do you think it is? Is it genetic or is it like nature versus nurture?" Right? He says it must be both. Like थोड़ा तो होगा ही कि मैं ये start किया, पर उसके बाद I stamped it out. Like I literally fucking stamped it out, right? And so the guy has
But
no fear.
during the documentary also, if you look at it, his relationship with his girlfriend, he is a little like
Off.
that Sherlock Holmes, Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes sociopathic when he talks about his relationship. Like if it works, it works. It doesn't, I don't really care. Like it's that very
No,
and yeah.
And you know what the interesting thing about fear is? Fear, just like adrenaline, you need higher doses of it to affect you.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, if you're starting out in comedy, right? You've never performed for anybody, then even one person is a scary audience. Eventually, you start performing for 10 people, right? After that, 50 is a scary audience. The minute you perform for 700, then performing in a room full of 20 people or 50 people is not a problem at all. So you keep needing higher and higher doses to get you afraid. So, which is why possibly Mountain Dew is correct. डर के आगे जीत है.
You set this all up for a Mountain Dew advertisement.
For a Mountain Dew
fucking true.
plug.
Face your
We are
fucking
not
fear.
getting paid by
This
Mountain
And
episode
Dew.
brought
Mountain
to you
Dew doesn't
by-
even pay us, dude.
Yeah.
But listen, you know, there's the other thing I wanted to talk about emotions, right? Is the triggering of emotions that happens. One is when you see another person being sad, happy, irritated, grumpy, whatever. But I feel colors, for example, incite a varied amount of emotions
Yeah,
basis
it's
what you're
called
looking
Big
at,
Boss.
right? Like right. That's just disgust for me.
That's the
Nothing
only
else.
colors India cares about.
No, it also
No,
kind
so like for example, and I'll tell you why it's I've actually personally seen it happen because you would hear a lot कि अरे you know झाड़ देखने में मजा आता है, right? Greenery, झाड़ ये वो. So ever since I moved into this house, which is on the 17th floor, I face mangroves. You guys have all come. You've seen the mangroves that you can see from my balcony, bro. In the monsoons, right? They go a fucking different shade of green, okay, and it stretches all the way from where I'm at till fucking Borivali. And if you stand on my balcony and look left, you can see all the way till the pagoda. Okay?
Yeah.
It's just a sea of green. I'm telling you, dude, I was one day monsoon. I hate monsoons. Okay? They irritate me. Garam, irritate, बारिश, ये वो.
मच्छर.
उसके बीच में grumpy है और मैं balcony में खड़ा रह के coffee पी रहा है. And suddenly I look at this color. Dude, this green is like popping out.
Dude.
And it's got such a soothing, nice vibe to it. It changed my mood like this.
So मेरे
Like
window के बाहर,
almost what like the sea would do to you, right? If you're on the
Absolutely
beach,
agree.
magic lighting का time है, waves आ रहा है, आवाज सुन रहा है. Dude, it was like that for me. So now even many a times you'll see me, Nikita, we'll just go stand and just look at the mangroves, look at the trees. हाँ, झाड़
So
ये
मेरे bedroom window के
change
बाहर,
होता है, bro.
right outside. So my bed. So the moment I would wake up, there was this 20-year-old, 25-year-old tree right outside my window. So it's been there for that long. So you can imagine how big it is. मेरे window के आगे एक parking lot है. Actually, I could never see it until 2 months ago when the extreme weather happened and that 25-year-old tree fell.
fell down.
It's gone. So now I just see a parking lot when I wake up in the morning, and it is actually it really affects your mood as opposed to then when I was like, and I'm really like, I didn't appreciate what I had at that point of time. This epic green right in front of my window, blocking everything else out from it.
By the way, talking of things affecting your mood,
Hmm.
right? One of the craziest phenomena of being human is songs, dude. Songs.
Music, yeah,
From mood.
100%.
Fuck, like you hear a song from 2011.
100%.
You are back in 2011. Like you can feel the exact same emotions, and it kind of
Straight
tells
up.
you how far you've.
Smell.
Right.
So smell. So there are
Smell
two senses which take you back.
Instant.
Nostalgia wise can trigger any memory.
Even
One is
even
smell, one is
half
sound.
the podcast that we do.
Baba, this might be more down your line, but I'm throwing this open. There was this line in this book called Sense of an Ending, okay, by Julian Barnes. It's a very beautiful book. If you get the chance, do read it. It's very thin also.
इधर है
So उसमें एक line है, ठीक है? Julian Barnes puts this line where he says कि what is the evolutionary function of nostalgia? And it's a great question, right? Like, what is the evolutionary function of nostalgia? Like, why is it important for people? Memory you can understand, but nostalgia is different from memory, right? Nostalgia is memory plus emotion. So, what is the thing? Do you guys have any theories?
इसका ना एक there was a article I'd read, like I can't remember, like decades ago, where somebody spoke about how nostalgic memories sort of help you transition in lives. It sort of is your what they call happy place sometimes, you know. So it sort of it rewards you. It sometimes makes you feel warmer. It sort of it helps you with experientially in decision making. You know, so things like, I mean, the most simple example is if you see a pin, you don't poke it, you don't take your finger and poke it because
no, but बाबा तू उसके लिए nostalgic थोड़ा ना हो रहा है कि यार
no, I'm giving you a
Kautuk, just repeat your question once again. I मैं थोड़ा confused हो गया question.
His point was, what is the evolutionary reason for nostalgia as a concept or emotion or feeling to exist, not memories?
Talking about self-preservation memory.
I also feel that a prior experience of it. No, see, when you're thinking nostalgia means you've already felt that specific emotion at a certain point of time,
and
right?
you like it.
So, and so there's already a comfort in knowing how you're going to feel, so to speak, like with respect to that specific emotion. So it's, I think, almost like a reflex reaction to it because you've already felt it. So it's easier to it's comfortable to feel it again. I don't know if I'm making sense, but you already know how you're going to feel.
No, Varun, one thing that I would say about nostalgia is this, that the worst thing you can do is to try to chase nostalgia, because they're never the same as you imagine them to be in the past. Right? It's like dating your ex again. It's never,
because even memories change, right? Like I think a lot of studies have been done where you keep telling the same story over 10 years, and as you add things to that story, the story actually changes in your mind. 10 साल पहले तो मैं कौतुक के
also called our podcast.
So I don't.
Have you heard this story before?
So I don't think that that's all that it is, right? Like I think that the reason is that there's a multitude of reasons, right? It's got to do with your ability to take you to a warmer, safer place.
That's what I'm saying. Prior experience of it makes it just easier to feel it again and feel a certain amount of comfort in it.
It's not just feel it again. There's several things that you need to do. So the evolutionary example of the pin was not that you'll get nostalgic about it. I'm saying just the fact that you know that poking a pin is going to hurt you. You'll never do it again. So it helps decision making. It helps a lot of things. There are people who there have been like
I think comfort
people
is
who've written books. Yeah, like people who've written books and stuff like that. People who've been in war and terrible and terrible situations of tragedy and torture and things like that. They said that just the memories of things and nostalgia helped me feel moments of dopamine, because you're in a situation where you're a prisoner of war. Imagine the amount of torture that your brain is
there might be something to this theory, because I've, like, at least in my personal experience, I've always been more nostalgic when I've been miserable. Like when I'm in a miserable
automatic, because you want to feel the comfort of how good things were back then, and you're in a shitty place right now. So hey, let me think about that time in college when we went for this trip, and like there was this really cute new girl and she had smiled. You know what I mean? It could be pretty much any of those sort of things.
It could be Dil Chahta Hai. Basically.
You know something good? This thing that you were saying now, Varun, I've realized, like, I recently met some college friends, and I was like, I've realized that right now, like, as a group of friends, we want to meet new people just so we can tell them old stories.
Yeah.
Old
Because
stories. Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
tired of
We
telling
meet and we
each other.
literally discuss
Which is
the same
also the
exact things.
explanation.
Yeah.
Which is also the explanation for why your school/college WhatsApp group is stuck in the time that y'all met.
Yeah, yeah.
So every time a group of, if you meet your school friends, you will only discuss your
You
Hindi
still
teacher,
have the
English
same,
teacher,
you
maths
still have
teacher,
the same
same story
punchlines.
and the same
Yeah.
joke and the same.
Baba, अपना 442 podcast पे भी, like we are stuck on the 2000s players, right? अरे याद है
Yeah.
क्या वो टाइम जब बेकम मारा था, स्टीवन जेरार्ड ये किया था,
Yeah.
people are like अरे move on dude, एम्बापे आ गया,
क्रिकेट में भी
चल.
अभी तक हम लोग 90s में ही अटके हैं हम लोग.
कामाविंगा आ गया है.
90s की बात कर रहे हैं.
कामाविंगा आने वाला है.
So
they-
I saw this
they-
weird documentary once about just an example of how evolution for humans works very differently as opposed to like now as the moment from the invention of the written word, how it changed for us as opposed to animals. Like if a spider is there, if there are multiple spiders, the spider that is more likely to go out and venture around humans is going to
Is
get killed.
Kafka.
Is going to
Is
get killed.
Kafka.
Good. Is going to get killed. But the spider who is more conservative and stays inside and is careful around humans will then procreate, and then those genes will get passed on over generations, and all the spiders will be wary of going outside and being careful of
Introverted, yeah.
yeah, careful of humans.
The spiders in my house didn't get that memo.
Yeah.
उनको चाहिए कि वो लटके मेरे फैन से in precarious position right before they fall on my face.
Tom
साले
Cruise
ये-
spider.
Triggering,
यहाँ-
fall
यहाँ
on
के
your
spider
face,
को नहीं
triggering
मिला.
nostalgia. So you slap
Yeah.
yourself.
Dun, 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 dun. But for humans, we could actually pass on experiences to the immediate next generation by just writing and telling them what the hell happened. So, like that is something that is very unique to us.
This is the same story. I mean, the same idea. I had read about this in a thing. You know, in England, in the parks, right? They have these ponds and there are ducks there. So the ducks eventually found out that the humans came and gave bread.
bread.
But once that generation of ducks died, the new ducks had to figure this out by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the author was like, you know, if they had just written a book about how.
यहाँ पे bread मिलता है, आ जाओ.
So, hey, there's one hilarious fact, okay, about Botox. So, which is this? I'll tell you.
They
Wow.
feel
Which
emotions
is an
too.
emotion.
Feel emotions.
No,
This
no,
is
no,
an
no,
emotion.
no.
Botox
So
users
people
have
get
emotions.
Botox done so that they appear attractive, right, as they age. So Botox what it does is it stiffens the face, and
Correct.
consequently you can make less emotion.
Hmm.
And paradoxically, people are attracted to people who can show more emotion.
Yeah, but this is
You're
the
trying to get
perfect
better
case
people
of,
attractive but getting less attractive.
I think this is the perfect case of post-cognitive dissonance, which is also an emotion, where every time I buy something, I'm like, shit, kyun kharida maine?
Bro, one of the hardest emotions to master is to just like fucking be okay with how your body degenerates over time, right?
Oh,
Like
I've mastered
you
that
know,
emotion
the
at
vanity,
22.
let go of vanity. Fuck, dude.
I let go of vanity at 22, dude.
At 13. No, don't lie.
Yeah, at 13. So I'm fine.
But you know, they also talk about how like emotions, like for example, when you say stuff like, you know, I feel it in my gut.
Yeah.
That's because it actually has a physical reaction. Like it triggers your autonomic nervous system. So it affects digestion. You know,
Oh.
it affects
Oh,
your
yeah.
sexual response.
Oh yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. Like sometimes when you're like, you know, when your body pains, like different
Yeah.
body parts pain. Oh,
What
neck
is
paining.
IBS? IBS is that,
My
you know,
back.
involuntary bowel.
Yeah.
IBS is a virtue of anxiety.
Correct.
It's,
No, so what
Anxiety,
Varun
yeah.
is talking about, what Varun is talking about is apparently some research has been done at the Columbia University. It's called the emotional oracle effect, where people can actually predict the future by trusting their own emotional reactions to situations. So think of it as, again, hate to bring it up, it's another spider sense in a way. Like it's people trusting
yeah,
their gut.
except the emotional,
respond to a situation
this,
much better. Yeah, Abol.
but this doesn't work. The reason, the what's it called? The congruence to this theory is gambling, right? the gambling comes from a situation where you are trying to play from gut, right? The minute you start to analyze and focus and say, okay, this team is better than this team, or whatever form of gambling that you're doing, where you're like, I'll put all my money on red or black or whatever. The emotional response there is very different, because your brain has to work with logic and gut to be able to make the right decision, which is why the house always wins.
No, like for me, intuition is basically uh, experience being moved down to like a subconscious level, right? Because the more experience you have, like for example, as comedians, right, you can intuitively tell when a joke is going to be good, right? You write a joke and you can intuitively now tell whether it's going to kill or not. Sorry, Baba, not you. So like, and why is that? Because you've been on stage long enough to know that, ye kaam karta hai, because I have that experience.
But that's not intuition. That's my point, Kautuk. That is experience. Intuition
But
is
dude, that gut feeling. So like, this is that Blink, no? Malcolm Gladwell ka Blink, where
correct.
This guy sees an art dealer sees a sculpture, and instantly he knows that the sculpture is fake, right?
Correct.
And why does he know that? Like, so it's a gut feeling, right? He has no other data except कि मैं देखा हूँ इसको. And the reason he knows this is because it's experience, but on a level that you can't understand it.
But that experience is coupled with several things. So that's what I'm saying. In the sculpting example, the gut was the gut is based on several factors. Why is it out in the open? If it is an experience, if it is an important piece of art, why is it left unprotected? Why is it not manicured? Why is there dust on it? Why is there, like, all of these things tend to make you suspect the circumspect. And as a result, you then sort of...
Which is why beginners have like a 50-50 chance at intuition, but a more experienced person has a higher intuition rate. You know, like for example, to footballers ko le le yaar, the better players intuitively make better choices, right? And that's because of learned behavior, right? So eventually, like, if you want to become better at intuition, you just have to get like more experience in the thing that you want to be intuitive in.
So I'm sorry, but I'm going to talk about manga right now. So right now, Dragon Ball Super is running an entire form of the lead character Goku. I don't even know if you guys know this. The lead character is Goku, and he's got so they keep like upping his power scale, right? They keep going from like Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan Blue to Super Saiyan God, and now he's reached this form called Ultra Instinct, where he doesn't really he lets his body respond, like he's let go of his body to a degree where his body responds before his mind can even comprehend the person coming to hit him. So that is considered the highest form right now as far as this entire manga universe is. So Ultra Instinct is like just taking this and multiplying it by 1,000,000. That's what like
Ultra Instinct is basically unagi.
Yeah, basically it's
it's salmon skin roll.
Bro,
salmon skin roll.
It's that thing na, agar tu driving seekh raha hai, right? So you're more aware of everything in the car and outside the car than you are when you've learned it and you've spent a lot of time on the road, right? Then everything is just instinct and intuition. Like, you can literally, if you're Varun, you can know when a car is going to double park before the car is double parked.
Yeah.
Like, अरे वो ऐसे थोड़ा
खोपड़े पे double parker लिखा है.
Which is not tough to find in Bombay. हो गया, काफी सारे इमोशंस के बारे में हमने बात किया है और इसी के साथ हम समाप्त करेंगे इस हफ्ते का द इंटरनेट सेट. सो thank you guys so much for watching. Please let us know what emotions you all feel on a daily basis in the comment section.
I'm so glad that this is being released after we've again produced some consistency. If we had released it this week, the week we were shooting,
but like it is 1 week we've missed. Yeah, sorry, because we were shooting. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you're already
Even
an
if you are
existing
not
subscriber to the channel, share it with your friends, family. The podcast is also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and other podcasts. So podcast channels. So please go subscribe and listen to it there as well.
Hey,
and
Varun,
Kautuk, you have to
on this channel, do you also have podcast?
Did I say channel?
Yes, you did.
I said channel.
Yes,
okay, guys, please subscribe to this channel. Why the fuck did I say channel? Okay, that's it from this week. See you guys next week on the same channel. चैनल क्यों बोला? चैनल कब बोला?
Channel.
लिखना पड़ेगा
Bro,
मेरे को,
हम
तुमने मेरे
लोग
को
क्यों
लिख
हंस
बना।
रहे हैं?
What for your channel?